How do we create our categories in Quicken to account for our income and expenses for our business? You're going to go to Tools, Category List. And Quicken will have a bunch of kind of standard categories that you might use for your personal items. We're going to create our own set of categories for our business so that we can track those separately. So I just click the New Category button, and we're going to have an umbrella category for all our income associated with our business. So I'm just going to call it Farm Income. And then obviously we want to say it's an income category. And if you want to get super fancy, you can go to tax reporting, say this is a tax related category. And if you're a sole proprietor, it would be a Schedule C. And this is our income, so gross receipts or sales. So this would actually help you automatically fill out a Schedule C. Most of us, I think, run the reports and then just send it to our accountant and allow them to do that. But if you ultimately want to do your own tax reporting, you can certainly do that. So I'm going to save my income account. So now I have my farm income account. Now I want to put some subcategories. Now, if you're not particular and you don't want to track different revenue streams, you can certainly put it all to farm income. However, maybe you want to know, how much did I make on lessons? How much did I make on horse sales? And that's when a subcategory would come in. So if I'm going to hit make a subcategory, I'm going to click New Category, and I'm going to do lesson income. And you're going to click the subcategory of, and we're going to pick our farm income category that we set up. And here it is. I just have to scroll to find it. And note that we still have, if we want to put it on our Schedule C, we'll add the tax form here and we'll click Save. So now, as you can see, it's a subcategory of farm income. And that's all you do. Now let's say we also we need to track our expenses. So let's enter an expense category. So New Category, and again, I'm going to have an umbrella, so I'm going to call it Farm Expenses. And I'm going to give this an expense account. And again, you can do the tax reporting again. So Schedule C, this is not gross receipts. This is going to be expenses. Now, the only problem with this is that when we do subcategories, we're going to be able to fine tune it. For now, you can pick the one that matches what most of your expenses are going to be. We can just put unspecified business expense. And then when we put our subcategories in, we can map them appropriately. So I'm going to save that. So, and then for our farm expenses, I'm going to click New Category, and let's do a sub expense, utilities. And it's a subcategory. Farm expenses. And if I go to my tax reporting, again, I'm going to pick the Schedule C, and I'm going to look for an expense category of utilities. So again, it'll map it onto the Schedule C, and I'll click Save. And there is no limit to the number of subcategories and categories that you add. It's more on what's important to you to track. If you are going to be putting it on a Schedule C, I think it's a good idea to do the categories so that they match the Schedule C categories, so that it makes it a seamless report to run when you're ready to run your taxes. And that's all there is to setting up the categories. Once your categories are set, then you can enter transactions referencing those categories and thus tracking your expenses. To do this, you do need to have your accounts set up. And you can have any number of accounts. You can have cash on hand if your clients are paying you in cash. You can have your Venmo account in here, and QuickBooks will actually sync to your Venmo account and automatically import your transactions. You can have your checking account and it'll import your credit card account. The beauty of this is once you get them in the system, you can electronically connect them, and instead of manually entering all of your expenses and income, it can automatically import them. After they import, yeah, you're going to have to sometimes do a little cleanup, a little matching, but it's definitely a lot easier than starting from scratch. Now, let's just give some examples of entering in an income item and an expense item. I just have a little sample checking account here. Let's say you have a client, Jill Smith, and she takes lessons. And because I already entered her in here once, just playing, it's remembering it. But you can select the category, lesson income, and she paid you $50. And you can save that. And then let's say your farrier came and his name is Mike Jones. And if you go to the category and you go to business expenses, you'll see I have a vet and farrier category here. Now, if you want to further have information in there in the memo, you can say this was for Sparky's shoes and click save. Now you have another client, Joanne Woods, and she, if you go to business income, she paid her board, and you're going to put that in the deposit account for $800 and save. Now, the nice thing about this is once you enter a person, it will remember what it was the last time. So if Mike comes back out to do someone else, as soon as I type in Mike Jones, it's going to remember the last expense for him. So you can select it, and then you can overwrite, oh, this time $300. And this is for Tigger shoes. And you don't have to put a memo in, it's just how detailed do you want to be. And you click save. Then this is where it comes into the profitability. Now that I have a few example income and expense categories entered, I want to show you where the power really comes in and why you do this. If you go to reports and go to spending, and there's lots of reports in here, of course, you can fool around with them, but I find one of the most useful ones, and the ones you'll be giving to your accountant at the end of the year, will be income and expense by category. So if I click on that, it's going to run the report for the year. And obviously I just put in some sample transactions. We're only in the first year. But as you can see, as we get more data points in, you'll be able to compare month by month. You'll also be able to see an overall total. We're in the red right now. We've lost $425. Now, if you look, the farm income so far is $925. If you want to know where that's coming from, you just double click on this and it will give you all the transactions of the income. Another cool thing about it is you can subtotal it. So like if you wanted to know how much did I make on lessons, how much did I make on board? Now, obviously we don't have a lot of transactions here, but you would if you had a month long of transactions entered. So you can come up here by subtotal and say, I want a subtotal by account. And then it'll say, okay, we made $50 on lessons, $800 on board, and $75 on training. You also could run it by payee. So if you want to know how much you made on each customer, how much did you make on Ann Black, how much on Jill Smith, how much on Joanne, you can do this. You can run this report by 12 months, 1 month, week, year. So all this information is just at your fingertips. Same thing with your farm expenses. Where did all my money go? So you can come here and see all the transactions. If you want a subtotal by category, I can see, okay, we spent $300 on feed, 500 on utilities, and 550 to the farrier. I could also, again, subtotal by payee, so you can see how much did I send to Mike Jones. This is also useful if at the end of the year you're going to give out 1099s. This will tell you how much you gave to that individual. So even though you don't have a full business accounting system, you definitely have enough to manage most micro businesses simply by using this type of software.